I'm giving you a look here at the sad state of my country that I sent into financial ruin pretty quickly, as is evidenced by this here, which is representing the financial status of the country and the health of it, and it's now dead, as you can see. That happened in the fourth round of this game. I've played this game a bunch of times. I have lost every single time, and every single time I have had a great time. This video is going to talk a little bit, I'm going to go over a little bit of the game, of sort of how the game works, but there's a fantastic and relatively short video that I'm going to post the link to in the description here that explains the gameplay in ways that I could never do. So I will refer you to that link and just let you know a little bit of what's going on here. This game, it's a resource management game, not the kind of game I typically play. I'm not on the tripod because it's not that big. It's just that some of the things you set up here, which is this is an export market area, and some workers that you can purchase here are at the bottom, and I just want to be able to show you them, but we'll get to more of a steady cam in a moment. These represent some companies I was attempting to run, just two of them, a resort and a farm, and it was like too many or something. I made a lot of bread. The game reminds me conceptually of a game that mechanically is very different, which is Struggle for the Galactic Empire. That is one of my all-time favorite games. It's a war game. I've done a video on it. You can check it out if you're interested in the theme of basically attempting to manage, in that case, an empire, and here, in this case, an economy, a domestic economy on the brink of ruin. And in this game, which is the relevant one here, we begin the game with our financial status kind of like teetering on the edge of health. So these tracks represent the degree of dire nature of the financial status of the country, and you begin right here. As the game goes, you are attempting to gain each round, maintain a financial status of the number that is here. And we're looking at a play card that is the easiest play card. I've only ever played on the easiest play card. You begin with an attempt to reach a financial status of 22, and at the beginning of the game, you yourself are at 15. The extent to which you fail or succeed allows you to go up and down on this financial status meter. And those are really the victory points of the game. And there's a way in which I think the theme of the victory points being the financial status elevates the game so much, for me at least, as a player not interested particularly in victory points. Yet, as I've said in other videos, I have become interested in worker placement games because of the range of themes that they offer and the ways in which they enact those themes, and here it is done impeccably well. You have many different options in the game, and one of the first options, which you find yourself doing a lot, is taking a loan. And when you take a loan, you lose a victory point, and then you are compelled in future rounds to begin to pay off the interest in that loan. There are ways to purchase, these are foreign workers, and to get a foreign worker, it will cost you some money because it is obviously outside of your own economy. These are domestic workers that you can acquire, and you can just get them for free in essence because they're within your country. So again, the mechanics and the theme tying together really nicely. The enticing thing here in the middle are these industries that you can buy. You can purchase a bank, you can purchase a resort, as I did, you can purchase heavy industry. Not a bad idea, not very sexy, but trust me, it's a good idea to do that. You can purchase farms, and there are other resorts. Even though the art is the same, the resorts may offer different benefits and require slightly different inputs to run. You use your workers in later rounds to run the company and get the indicated output of it. And then the output, of course, then you use as resources to either run other companies or do other things with. There are a number of different markets here and ways of getting resources by importing them, by purchasing them, energy, for example, and also selling them. I'm not going to go into the details on that again. The video that I've linked to in my description will tell you all you need to know about how this actually works mechanically in the game. What I want to do is to talk a little bit about the feeling of the game and how it is successful in what it is attempting to do as a gameplay experience. We're looking here at the austerity plans, and as I mentioned, these are the goals that you need to attain for each round, and there are 3 options for solo play. For solo play, you are simply playing against the game, and these 3 plans, which for me is great because I am not so confident in this genre as to be able to manage some kind of an AI, and I'm really just focusing on my own scraping together, basically to lose the least amount. When I have a loss, to have it be the least amount of loss. So you have 3 options, and you can see here they are indicated from easier, medium, and difficult, and that is referenced by the goal that you have to attain each round. If you do attain the goal, there's an indication that you get one of these what are called influence cards, and the influence cards, you can purchase them during the game by placing a worker. Typically, they just give you some kind of a benefit. So, for example, if you purchase this one, you would read that a neighboring country is running an energy surplus, and you are able to get cheap energy. You're gaining a victory point, and you can buy 5 energy resources without losing victory points, and typically when you're purchasing them you would. So you can get one of those for free as a benefit in certain rounds if you attain the goal. I've never gotten that benefit. Here's another example. Your friends in the export ministry give you some insider information, so you can do some speculation, and that allows you to basically have some more flexibility on export resource contracts than you would normally have. And we'll just look at one more. This says the director of the local bank owes you a favor. So it's a smart banking influence. You can take a loan and gain 10 credits and lose 1 victory point and adjust the loan track accordingly. That's basically the benefit of any loan. However, key information here, play this card at any time if you have fewer than 4 loans. So you can get a loan whenever you would need one, as opposed to typically when you would in the round structure of the game. So those are some examples of benefits you can get for attaining the financial security of your country. Again, everything in this game is in line with the theme of the game, because it would make sense if you were doing a great job. As you are doing a great job running a company, more benefits come to you. Each round of the game begins with an event happening, and the events are linked to the financial health of the country. So if you are in green, you would be reading a green event such as emergency taxes. You are unexpected deficit growth causes governments to impose new taxes. So you are, again, thinking about a country that is prosperous, but all of a sudden something is beginning to happen, and you would have that indicated. Here is one that happens in yellow: political turmoil. Axia's citizens have had enough. Protests erupt in all major squares, and its financial status must go down, and the output of all these types of companies must go down. So let's look at the companies. These are really the heart and soul of the game, and, you know, again, theme. They're companies, and what is the output and industry of a country is the heart and soul of the country. So we have options that come out based on the rounds, and you need to supply them with workers, as I indicated, and they will give you certain benefits, and you can also add additional workers to get additional benefits, and of course they cost you money. So to purchase a company costs you money, as well as victory points, because again, thematically, it's a deficit until it starts to earn out. And though the art is the same, the companies can offer different benefits, they require different inputs, and they give you different outputs. And here we look at the range of things. There are, of course, wonderful tokens in this game to represent many of the different types of resources that can be created, and the production values on this game are fantastic. The quality of the pieces are great, and I don't know if this is common to the genre. Maybe it is. I'm feeling as I play more worker placement games that perhaps overall the quality of components is higher than that in the kind of standard dungeon crawl fantasy. But maybe, I don't know, maybe people with more experience in both could tell me. The cards are linen finish, the map is saturated with color, and these great wooden components. So there is obviously energy, there's food, these are types of minerals, or just, a representation of minerals and representation of chemicals and representation of machinery output. These are great, these little cogs that you get. So you have to have a balanced economy, and you have to also not over purchase into industry before you can be generating enough input to get the output that you need to fund the further industries. It's all a balancing act, and one that apparently I do not do very well. The worker selection is, there are different types of workers. So you have farmers, you have engineers, you have bankers, and then there are also, in some little mini expansions, there are some specialty workers that can come into play and have a little more flexibility. You also do have one temp worker represented by this robot who can be placed anywhere, even if his symbol won't match, so his symbol can go into anything. Otherwise, the workers have to be matched up with their icons, such that, for example, this machinist is not going to be able to help you with this farm, but this guy will, and this guy will, as these symbols match up. These are all foreign workers denoted by the stripes, and as mentioned before, they cost you victory points to purchase because, again, thematically, you're adding to the deficit. The context of this game, which I never referenced earlier, is that you are running Axia, a land with a glorious past, a most uncertain present, which is the context of the game, and an even more unpredictable future. And there's a little story or theme here that, again, you don't even really need to read because the mechanics of this just play it out so wonderfully. And also, I should show the designer credits here on the box a little more easily. And also mention, though it took me a while to figure out what was going on in this game, and I watched the video that I'm referencing a couple of times to make sure I understood it. The rulebook is indeed quite well written and very, very clear in terms of not only the setup, but the examples of what each area of the map of the board does and how it works. And there are quite a lot of player aids that you have in your hand. In fact, there's a whole, these are all the different player aids that you can hold in your hand while you're playing the game to remind you of what's going on. And for me, that was extremely helpful. So the supporting mechanism of the game is great. And actually, once you understand the game, it kind of it plays quickly for me because I just run the country into ruin, usually by round 3 or 4. But it does play quickly in terms of the setup. And again, maybe this is a characteristic of this genre of gaming, of these mechanics, I don't know, that there's like tons of pieces and it looks super overwhelming. Like looking up here, for example, at this area where you're importing things, it looks totally overwhelming. But once you understand the iconography, it makes tons of sense. And because it's so thematic, I mean, you've got this boat coming in, you can remember what's going on, and it makes sense that if you're going to be importing something as opposed to just creating it yourself or purchasing it domestically, that you're going to lose victory points, which is increase the debt of the country, as well as spending your own money. Once you think about that and actually think about what you're doing, it's not overwhelming as a gameplay style. it is very, very challenging, and as I said, I have not figured out even close to how to play this game successfully, but in repeated plays, I've just come to enjoy it more because it's a challenge to figure that out and figure out what the buying strategy is for the companies and not get super too enticed. I always end up buying that resort early on, and maybe that's a mistake. I don't know. You can see as the rounds progress, you get more options, pharmaceuticals, and you get more options in terms of what is available to buy, and power plants that make different kinds of things and require different types of workers and resources, and you can start to set up like a transportation infrastructure. I mean, I would never get to this point. I don't think I've ever really gotten, I know I've never really gotten to the third level of the game. So that is a look inside Crisis. I absolutely am taken by the marriage of the theme and the mechanics of what you're doing, and I think that this exploration into worker placement that I have done is coming from the place of really wanting that feeling of doing something as a character in a game. And this game, it does give you that feeling of like being a manager and just trying to put out fires. Now, in the real world, I am a manager, and I'm happy to say that I run the business of what I get paid to do much better than I'm running this Axia country. So that's lucky for everyone. But it does give that feeling of like, oh, something else is happening, and why didn't I look ahead to see that? I should have done this. I kind of see now that I should have sold these resources to get this thing. That kind of feeling is generated by this game extremely effectively with beautiful components. For me, a relatively fast gameplay because I just run the country into ruin, but I don't think overall the gameplay would be that bad. The rounds are very smooth, especially playing solo. I think it works really well because you can just kind of go through the rounds and get to the production and move forward pretty quickly. So that it's been a very successful endeavor. It's been a successful gaming endeavor for me into the world of Crisis, if not and all successful for helping out the land of Axia.